This is Texans TV.
We are here at the 2023 NFL Scouting Combine as the Houston Texans are here as well, of course. General Manager Nick Caserio, Coach DeMeco Ryans, and many of the staff members evaluating college players. And Johnny, you can feel the buzz here in Indy as the best and the brightest in the college draft class are here.
Nick has been awesome to work with. Nick is very knowledgeable guy, right? And I'm happy to be a part of a team that has a GM in place who has so much experience, right? So much to a guy that I can bounce ideas off of. He's seen it done many ways, seen a lot of different players, and just having his knowledge and his experience has really been very beneficial to me.
You've got quarterbacks that potentially could be in Houston. You got players that could potentially be in Houston, but it was great to see the excitement around Nick Caserio and DeMeco Ryans from the national media here in Indianapolis.
A most important week at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. We hope you've enjoyed those sights and sounds of what went down. And I'm Drew Doughtery, your host here on Texans 360. We got a fantastic show for you. You're going to hear from the head coach. You'll hear from the GM as well. And on top of everything else, we got to go around town and do a walking intelligence test. But we start things off with the GM, Nick Caserio. It's his third Combine here in charge of the Texans, and he sat down with the guys from Texans Radio.
Joining us on Combine Radio Row now, it's General Manager Nick Caserio. Nick, how's it going so far?
Better than I'm here.
Yeah,
with you two.
That's true. And we're going to address this right now because I want people to know this. I wore the vest because it's Nick Caserio Day at the Combine. What do you have to say for yourself not wearing a vest?
I'm saying I left it in my closet. I wore it on the plane last night. I thought I would be warm enough with the long sleeves that I have on. So I know that's an important piece of information to Texans Nation out there. So.
So 2 years ago, it's your first offseason for the Texans and no Combine. The last 2 years, you have the Combine. How is it different then, and how has your routine changed or adjusted?
Yeah, you're still accumulating information. That year, we just had to go about it a different way. So this is an opportunity for, I would say, more in-person dialogue and discussion. Not only the college players, but essentially every agent is here as well. So as you work towards free agency, you start to have some, I would say, initial discussions and dialogue with some different folks. Nothing really comes to fruition until, that second week or whatever it is in March. So this is more opportunity for everybody to kind of be in one spot. So that's probably the biggest change from what happened that first year to kind of where we are now.
Nick, I don't know how often you came to Combines when you were with New England. I'd imagine you came to a few. But the interview process, we're talking with Dave McGinnis, and he was talking about how things have changed. And I thought about the interview process because he said it used to be the Wild Wild West. You could just grab a guy.
I was a part of that. Oh, yeah.
How is it better or worse
I'll go
or
behind
just
the
different?
scenes. No,
all right, go ahead. Go
behind it's totally different. So we were in the train station. So essentially each team still had a room. But really it was just a corridor, and there was no time limits. So you could really grab people as they were walking through the hallway. So if you saw a player, you wanted to talk to the player, you literally would grab them into your room, and you could have, 50 people in your room at the same time. So whether it was multiple players, multiple staff members, however many you could fit in, it was chaos.
Yeah.
And then you'd have people knocking on the door, and they want to grab them around a corner. So the best thing the Combine did was really normalize it and say, okay, everybody has a room. They're going to kind of organize it. They put it in 15, 20-minute blocks. They blow the horn, so then they go from room to room. So now we've transitioned out of the train station. Now everybody has a suite in Lucas Oil.
Right.
Same time parameters. You have some time parameters in place, so you have 20 minutes now. We actually have less players that we can speak to. It's gone from 60 to 45, where you can actually do formal interview, and then you have the informal. That really hasn't changed. So it's certainly evolved. The Combine's done a great job at that. But going back to what Coach said, absolutely was the case. It was you literally were grabbing players and keep them as long. An hour? And you'd have coaches, getting stances or ask questions. Literally, it was like you went to a rave. Literally, that's what it was. So thankfully, sanity has prevailed, and everybody is productive with their time.
I don't know. I was getting into the rave thing. Nick, can you give us an example of a question you might ask during one of those interviews? What are prospects? What are you going to ask?
Yes. If there's some introductory things you want to try to go through, most of the background we have on the player, but you may ask a football-specific question when you start talking about, hey, what happened on this player? I was watching this game, and on this particular play, this is what happened. Can you articulate your thoughts, or you can articulate your role, what happened on the play, or give us an example of your in-season routine. So so those are some of the things that you're trying to get information from the player, just kind of see how they think, how they process, what do they prioritize, what's important. From a football standpoint, when we're watching prospects, if you see something happen, we don't really know what they're being told or what they're being coached or what happens on the play. So they might be able to shed some light. Well, on this play, we were trying to do this, and the receiver missed this, so it forced us to do something else. So those are the types of things you just, in terms of the information gathering process, that's what we're really all here to do. So you're just trying to get clarity so you have a clear picture and a vision at the end when we have our profile on the player, like we have all of our questions answered.
Nick, you talked about the number of players you can interview here, and obviously there's a number that you can have. You talk about the 30 visits and all that. But if there's somebody that you want to interview at some point, they don't fall into either one of those buckets, how do you go about getting the information and having an interview with a player at that point?
You can always go visit a player on campus before their pro day if you need to spend some time there. And then you're allowed basically 3 individualized Zooms up to an hour with a particular prospect.
So you're doing a lot of shows other than us.
Yes.
This is the only show that matters.
Yeah, the only show that matters, of
Confirmed
course.
it right here.
But do you have a favorite national show to go on? I mean, what is it like? You're
really
on
don't
Florio
do too many
Sims.
shows. Yeah, I've actually gone on with Florio and Sims back-to-back years, so I don't think anybody thought that would ever happen. But but no, like Chris and I worked together actually in New England for a little bit,
right.
and so we were together. So Mike's done a great job kind of developing his platform, and he has a voice. So always happy to go on and visit with those guys.
All right, 2-12. Tell us what's going to happen.
2-12. Oh, that's assuming we're picking at 2-12.
I thought you just had him making a trade, Johnny. What are you doing
No,
here?
it's second and third. It's already happening. So I guess we're not at 2 anymore. We're at 1-12.
Nick, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thanks, fellas.
We appreciate you watching here on Texans 360. Drew Doughtery at the Combine, Indianapolis. And my good pal, DP Sidhu, did like she always does. She canvassed the national media and got their important aspects and opinions on the Houston Texans in 2023.
James, you're well connected around the league. So tell me what people are saying about Nick Caserio, that last year's draft class. They had a lot of guys that ended up starting games, Dameon Pierce, Jalen Petrie, Derek Stingley, Christian Harris. What have they thought about the job that Nick Caserio has done so far?
When you talk to people at the Combine around the league, it's kind of like this might be the most interesting team to watch in the NFL this offseason with 11 picks, the salary cap space they have, and the head coach that they hired. Players want to play for DeMeco Ryans. That makes free agency, even when you win, 3 games this past year, makes it a little bit easier when you have a coach that can lure people in. They might be the most interesting team this offseason.
So DeMeco Ryans, love his energy, love how open he is, and love that he was built for this. I mean, I was just talking about this with someone. When he was in the Eagles locker room, you could just tell. And the brand of leadership that he had even as a player, just so sincere, so authentic, never trying to be a leader, he just inherently was. And I love how passionately he feels about the city of Houston. And I'll say, I remember when the Denver job, we knew that Denver was interested in him and that Houston was. And I remember having a conversation with my broadcast partners because we'd done a ton of Texans games. Why would you pick Houston considering the last few years as compared to Denver? And Jay Feely made the point, he loves Houston.
I know he's made for this job. I do. He got great energy. I love his defensive scheme. It's very sound with a splash of creativity and game plan specifics. And I think when you add on that he played for the Texans, his wife's from there, he's from the South, seems like he wanted that job more than any. That's when the stars align and some good things can happen.
What he's done clearly as a coach and what he's been able to do as a leader of other men, it just makes it a terrific fit.
I think DeMeco is one of the most universally liked and respected guys, just based upon the feedback I've heard going back to people he knew in Houston, people who worked with him at the 49ers. Everybody is happy for him getting the opportunity. He's a really talented young coach, which is part of the criteria they were looking for, was a young coach to grow with a young team. And it is pretty amazing that
after everything that's happened, there's been a lot over the last 2-3 years here that suddenly it seems to have flipped.
The fact that he can stand in a press conference room and there's Brian Cushing and there's Andre Johnson, so it's the history and bringing it all together. It just works on so many different levels, and I'm excited for the Texans.
The excitement is back in Houston, and they haven't even figured out their franchise quarterback yet. That's just from the head coach, and that shows you what DeMeco Ryans brings. I mean, his family is beyond excited to be in Houston. His wife wanted to be there more than anything in the world. And it's funny, when I arrived in Houston was the year after DeMeco left. In all the locker rooms I've been in around the NFL, I've never heard players continuously talk about a player that's gone more than those players did about DeMeco Ryans, whether it was Brian Cushing or whether it was J.J. Watt going, if DeMeco was here, we'd be doing blank. And it wasn't because of what he would do on the field that they were saying that. It was like, if he was in this room, we'd be doing blank, or that leadership would be here for this. That was one of the instances I've never really seen any other place in the league.
Ever since he's been a player, everyone's known he's going to be a head coach. I mean, he's one of the more obvious coaching candidates since forever. He was a coach on the field, he was a coach in the locker room, and now he's actually a coach, and to me it's perfect.
The team has got a lot of, the good core basic principle players on the team throughout. There's a phrase I always use, a lot of good meat and potato guys. Now it's time to get some guys that, can make plays, be difference makers, get a big sack to close out the end of the football game, right?
And one of the more, it's not unique, because I think there's plenty of other GMs that think like this, but I think Nick's brain is really extremely open to every option. So if that is the best option, I could see him go from 2 to 1. I could see him going back a little bit if the right value isn't there. I mean, there's going to be a fascinating thing to watch him during the draft.
It's been an exciting month for DeMeco Ryans. About 4 weeks ago, he was hired as the Texans head coach, and the former team captain for the Texans is now going through his first combine in charge of Houston. He went 2-on-1 with Mark Vandermeer and John Harris of Texans Radio.
Joining us now on Texans Radio, it's the maiden voyage on Texans Radio for head coach DeMeco Ryans. How's it going, Coach?
Going great. Great to be on with you guys.
All right, well, good to have you at the Scouting Combine and the first of many visits here on Texans Radio. First of all, let's just get to the present. How's it been at the Combine so far for you, what you're concentrating on here, that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's been really good so far. It's just an opportunity for us to, get in front of these athletes, right, to get a first-hand look and get to know these guys, right, as much as you can.
Coach, you having gone through this process, has it changed how you look at these players and these prospects a little bit, because you know what it's been like and now you're seeing it through different eyes as the head coach of the Texans? But has it helped you at all going through this process?
Going through this process before, just how you treat the guys, right? And the type of interviews, like, do you want to just, some guys come at the guys very aggressive, and it's like, well, I didn't like that when someone came at me that way, so I want to make sure, I'm treating those guys how I would have liked to be treated during this entire process, because you have to understand what these guys are going through. It's a lot, right? It's a lot on these guys. There's a lot of meetings just back to back to back, and they have to answer a lot of questions, right? That spotlight is on these guys. So I want to make it as easy as possible for these guys just to, feel comfortable and just allow them to tell their story.
How hard is it to tell if a player really wants to improve, has that drive to improve individually and is coachable, like you said?
Yeah, well, I think you always ask guys, what is it that you need to improve on? And when guys can really be self-reflective and they can tell you about, okay, this certain technique when I'm run blocking, I can do a better job of using my hands or running my feet. That gets me, right? I can tell right there, okay, this guy understands his weaknesses and he's prepared to work on them because he knows it. Now he knows what he needs to do to improve.
Coach, you were an All-American defensive player.
Yep.
You were defensive rookie of the year. You were defensive coordinator, but now you got to put together an offensive staff. How was that process for you, knowing what you were looking for offensively and what you wanted to do when you put together the offensive side of the ball?
Right. It's about finding the right guys who can lead, the right guys who can run a room, the right guys who can inspire, guys who are always learning, always trying to be on the cutting edge of what's next, right? That's what I was looking for. And, finding a guy like that in Bobby Slowik, a guy I know who he is as a man, family man, just an awesome guy, smart guy, one of the smartest guys I've been around. He's helped me grow as a coach, just being around him. He's always challenging, always asking questions. So that's why I feel like I know we have the right guy in Bobby, and I know he's going to continue to grow and develop in the role that he has.
After you guys had lost this to Philadelphia, I thought it was telling that when Fred Warner stepped up to the mic and then, Nick Bosa was talking about your impact on them, because at that point it felt like, okay, DeMeco's going to move on, whether it's Houston or somewhere else. When you hear it from those guys that you've been leading, Fred Warner's like, I came in the league. He was my linebackers coach. I've been with him from day one. But now you get to create those relationships with new guys in Houston.
Yeah.
Hearing it from the old guys and then being able to do it in Houston, what does that mean to you as the head coach?
To build those relationships and to have that impact on a guy like Fred Warner, guys like Nick Bosa, Dre Greenlaw, and to hear them, say, the kind words that they had to say about me, that just solidifies, why I do what I do.
Right.
And why I love doing what I do.
Well, we love having you here, Coach. Thanks a lot for being on with us.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy it.
Back in 2006, DeMeco Ryans went through the combine and said the most memorable aspect of it all, he did 27 reps on the bench press and then immediately walked into a tiny room next door and took the Wonderlic exam. It's an intelligence test that they don't even administer anymore here in Indianapolis, but we still do it with the walking intelligence test, and we canvass the streets of Indy downtown. Yes, indeed. It's that time of the show where we go on the streets of Indianapolis and ask the citizens here intelligence questions. It's the walking intelligence test, the WIT, and it's time to see if they know what the prospects know. First one's math. Train travels 100 feet every 2 seconds. So how far will it travel in 36 seconds?
Shoot.
That's a good answer, too. That'll count.
You said 100 feet every 2 seconds?
Correct. Don't you hate math in the morning?
Yes, I do. And I'm not going to be able to tell you the answers on that one.
I believe 1,800 feet.
You're on a roll. You're the first person to get 3 in a row. Biggest diameter of these is which? Which has the biggest diameter? The Earth, the Moon, Venus, the Sun, or a basketball?
Oh, I have no idea. Definitely not the basketball, right? Like, it's pretty small.
The Sun, actually.
Yeah.
5 cookies cost 30 cents. So, how much are 30 cookies?
Hang on. 5. How many are 30 cookies?
Correct.
I believe $1.80.
You believe right, man. Perfect 5 for 5. Thank you so much for the time.
No problem. Have a nice day.
Which has the biggest diameter? The Earth, the Moon, Venus, the Sun, or a basketball?
The Sun.
Boom! You got that, Kenyatta. Good stuff. What's the 8th month of the year?
August.
You're on a roll. 2 in a row. See? You're redeeming yourself.
Where's mine? And it's 9th. So, yeah.
Hey, my mom's is the 10th. So it's good time. Okay, a train travels 100 feet every 2 seconds. How far will it travel in 36 seconds?
Oh, God. I am bad at math. So you said it goes 120-something feet?
100 feet in 2 seconds. So how far does it go in 36 seconds?
So 100, so 50 by 36, whatever that is. Probably like, I don't know, 1,500 and something. I have no idea.
Close.
Yeah.
1,800.
Yeah.
Close. Okay, what's the next number in this series? 24, 28, 32, 36, 40, 44.
I'm just going to go 48. I have no idea.
You got the right one. There you go. Which of these has the biggest diameter? The Earth, the Moon, Venus, the Sun, or a basketball?
The Sun.
Bingo. 2 in a row. Okay. 5 cookies cost 30 cents. How much do 30 cookies cost?
$1.80.
Bingo! Jack, you redeemed yourself. Thank you very so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for you guys being here.
All right, the next number in this series is what? 24, 28, 32, 36, 40, 44.
48.
Brad wins them all. Congratulations, Brad. Thank you so much for the time.
Got it, man.
Getting a little tougher here. Train travels 100 feet every 2 seconds. So, how far is it going to travel in 36 seconds.
100 feet at every what?
2 seconds.
2 seconds. And how far is it going to travel in what?
36 seconds.
Oh, God.
It's early in the morning for math, I know.
Right, so 8, 6, 78 feet.
1,800. Close, yes.
Close. That was horrible.
That's all right. You're not the first, and you won't be the last, so don't worry about it.
That was really bad, though.
I'm not judging. I would probably do the same, okay? Next number in this series, 24, 28, 32, 36, 40, 44. What's the number after 44?
48.
Easy, right?
Yes, sir.
Which has the biggest diameter? The Earth, the Moon, the Sun, Venus, or a basketball?
The sun, I believe.
You believe correctly.
Okay.
The 8th month of the year is?
August.
That's right, and for the perfection, the perfecto, for the perfect 5, I'll get it out. The 5th and final question is, 5 cookies cost 30 cents. How much are 30 cookies?
Oh, $1.80. Let's go. Let's go Texans.
Then let's go, Harry. Thank you, Harry. All right, to recap, math at any time of day can be hard, especially in the morning, especially when I'm asking the questions and we're walking down the cold streets of Indianapolis. But this has been a walking intelligence test. So much fun doing the WIT in Indy. It's always fun coming to Indy for the Combine, and we could not have put this show together without the great Tyler Suddarth, Gardy Swingby, and J.J. Johnson making it all work. So for them, I'm Drew Doughtery, and we will see you next time on Texans 360. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.